Ladies and gentlemen, I have another treat for you today. This individual, now, I talk about offensive linemen, but there's a hybrid position on the offensive line, and it's what we call the tight end.
Mhm.
This individual has the best of both worlds. He has a taste of both worlds. At times, he's staying in and he's blocking, he's helping out us offensive tackles, and
Mhm.
it's really good, and he's in a good mood. He may even chip that ferocious defensive end on his way out to the route. That one little elbow right there, it just
Correct.
helps us out on the way out to the route. But you know what? He is responsible. The tight end is responsible. And I hope I don't get this wrong, Mr. Carter, working the middle game. He makes them pay. When that linebacker gets too cocky, he wants to focus on the run, that tight
Mhm.
end right behind him, right? He just works.
That's the old school football. These new guys now, boy, they running
I know they
downfield,
run a
man.
wheel route right down the middle of the
Yeah,
field.
those guys are so athletic
I
now, man.
know, I know, I know. But hold on. Let me talk about this
I'm
guy's
sorry.
stats,
Sorry.
okay? No. It's fine. It's fine. Played for, I don't want to get this wrong, right? He played for Florida State, not Florida, Florida State. I want to cause a ruckus right here. Known for his great size, great blocking ability, and he's so versatile. He was so versatile. Played for the Detroit Lions, played for the Rams. That's where I met up with him at. With the Houston Oilers, which I did not know. We got to talk about that because I was on that
Mhm.
roster for a while, and the Arizona Cardinals.
Mhm.
After retiring, he has transitioned into coaching and scouting. Worked with some amazing teams like the Miami Dolphins, Detroit Lions, the Dallas Cowboys. His roles include helping the assistant tight end coaches and pro scouting and quality control. Ladies and gentlemen, may I introduce to you Mr. Patrick Carter. Pete Carter, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thank you so much for having me, man.
Oh
I'm
man,
humble. I'm humble. Humble. Thank you.
it's an absolute blessing just to have an opportunity to kind of catch up with you to see what you're doing. I too watch what you're doing online,
Yes, sir.
and as far as you have some written literature. You got two books out, and then we're gonna get to that towards the end. I'm really fascinated by your poetry, spoken word / rap that you be chicken. You be spitting bars. I'm like, oh, that's a little KRS-One right there, ladies and
Keeping
gentlemen.
me occupied, man. I'm staying occupied.
I love it. But what I want to do is get behind the scenes a little.
Sure.
I want to talk about the young Patrick Carter coming up.
Mhm.
Where are you from? What happened? And how you made that transition, how you was able to just move into, playing at Florida State and then moving there, the NFL, and then the postseason, kind of giving people a glimpse behind the scenes, stepping aside from the player and focusing in on the person. So, Pat, I don't want to talk a lot. I just want to know, talk to me about the young Patrick Carter
Mhm.
and evolution of the Juggernaut.
Well, especially upbringing wise, I had a very unique life. A majority of my childhood was spent in Sarasota, Florida. The
Okay.
first 16 of those 18 years, 2 years, sixth grade, seventh grade, I went to live with my father in Hawaii. So I stayed off base with him in Waipahu, Hawaii. So I still got some friends that are there now.
Okay.
But I came back after the seventh grade and finished, grew up the rest of my childhood in Sarasota, where athletics was pushed. A lot of us guys, we lived in a community called Newtown, very tight knit community, and it was kind of a village, more or less. How it talks about it takes a village to raise a kid.
Sure.
And that's kind of the situation in which I came from, where, a lot of people poured into me, expecting me to do well. My grandparents are the factors who I would say the benefactors. They're the ones that raised my benefactors that raised me.
Okay.
We had to be in church on Sunday, so I had that church upbringing.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I was still mischievous, but it was up to a limit. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
When they put that the Christian morals in you early, you start thinking a little better than
Yeah.
some.
Yeah.
And I played basketball and football in high school. I was a decent basketball player. I was just probably, I was a banger on the boards more or less.
Sure.
Football, I played tight end all the way through, and I was emergency defensive end if they ever needed it, but they had other guys that they wanted to play over there, so I just strictly played tight end on offense.
Okay.
And I had the beautiful thing for me, and I got to be honest, it was a few guys, the class in front of me, I graduated in 84, the class of 83. We had, I think it was about 4 guys went Division 1. So the scouts had already came in to see them because we had one guy. He was an offensive lineman, and his name was Glenn Mogul. He was 6'8", about 2'5", 270
Wow.
in high school. In high school, so everybody came to see him. And so when they came to see him, obviously they were like, "Well, dog, who is that guy next to him?" And
Right.
obviously, I showed and proved then, and so that's how I became. People knew who I was. And, by my senior year, I don't know ranking wise. I don't remember if we had the stars back then,
Mhm.
but I think I remember seeing a list a long time ago where like they had the top 100 of that class of 1984, and I was like 33 in there, somewhere in there. And the ironic thing was when I got drafted in the NFL, I got drafted at 32. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah, so I go on to Florida State. Started all 4 years, 4-year starter, which is the name of my shirt and one of my books. It's called
Right.
4-year starter. I started all 4 years, and then I was drafted by the Detroit Lions. Like, in those 4 years, I knew I couldn't say I was going to go pro my freshman year, but I knew I had a chance to play pro my freshman year because we played against some guys and they got drafted and I ate them alive. So I was like, oh, I know I got a chance then to see that. But I'll tell you this here. On my team was a guy called Jamie Dukes. I'm talking about he was the premier offensive lineman in college, one of the premier offensive linemen in college. And so he was 2 classes in front of me. So when his draft came and went and he didn't get drafted, I was blown away. It made me buckle down in school because I'm like, if he didn't make it, I ain't got a chance. So it was a humbling experience, but I always tell the story, never feel sorry for him because he just walked. I mean, he came on as a free agent and played 11 years in the league. So,
Oh, yeah.
it worked out for him.
Yeah. So yeah, you know what? You bring up a very interesting point. Everybody don't make it.
Correct.
And it's the longer you play,
Mm-hmm.
the more softer you walk. You're not as cocky, you're not as arrogant because practice, one MCL away.
Oh, that's correct. But you also got to remember too, the older you get, they're trying to push you out the door and push them younger guys in there to
That's true.
replace you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you really, that's what makes it even tougher to stick around that long.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you know what? Wow. Wow. Yeah. That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Young, fresh, talent, moldable. I could
Correct.
mold this individual. Do this.
Correct.
He's more versatile. He's not, quote unquote, set in his ways. So that right there is another skill set that you have to learn how to navigate. You got to learn how to develop. And then going back to my former point,
Mm-hmm.
there's always people that grew up with us that made the wrong choice.
Sure. Sure.
And every neighborhood has 2 or 3 guys that, man, he could have went in the NBA. He could
Without a
have,
doubt. Without a doubt.
so
Especially here in Florida.
yeah, I
Yes, sir.
know.
Especially here in Florida. It's a lot of that.
Yeah. So what kept you on the straight and narrow, or at least narrow enough not to get, put out there?
Well, obviously by the grace of God, because as a child, sometimes you might be hanging out with the wrong crew and
Right.
so, thank God that, fortunately enough didn't happen. And I always say I had a praying grandmother. My grandmother prayed and prayed, and I didn't want to let her down. I really didn't want to disappoint her. She meant the world to me, and I meant the world to her. And matter of fact, she's the reason I graduated college. Because once my eligibility was done, I still had a whole nother semester. I mean, a whole nother full year of school because I left that spring. You know how
Right.
after your senior season, you still got to go to class that spring. I didn't go to class, so I still had a whole nother year of school to finish. And it took me 2 NFL off seasons, but I got it done because I promised her before she died. She made me promise her that I would graduate. Yeah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I had a slightly similar situation.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was in practice, after practice with the Colts.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the running back coaches walked up to me out of the blue. He
Mm-hmm.
said, "You know what? There's a difference when you look at the stats and it says graduated from
Mm-hmm.
particular college versus attended a particular.
Right. Right.
When you see attended, it means that they didn't graduate. So
That's correct.
which one are you going to be? I was like, okay, I got my butt up, enrolled back in school, and was able to
Right.
finish that bad boy. Heck yeah,
But
man.
see, the difference is then you could do it online, right? When you did it then, right?
No,
You had
I
to
had
go
to go to
physically back as well. Okay, so
I had to
you
go.
understand. You
Yeah,
understand my
yeah,
pain
yeah.
then.
I had to go to an actual satellite campus on the off season, and I was able to finish up. I was like one or two classes away from that.
Yeah, but I was living. See, I want you to remember, I was living in California, and I
That's
had to
right.
go all the way back to Tallahassee, come back to Tallahassee to
Ooh.
go to school.
You know what? Well, listen, you are a bigger man than me because I don't know if I can leave Orange County.
Well, no, I had, but hey, but I think you'd have done the same thing when you'd have made that commitment to
Yeah,
your grandmother. You would
yeah,
have
yeah,
done that.
yeah,
You'd have
yeah.
done that. You'd have been a man of your word because I know that's one thing you are as
Yeah.
well.
So that is one thing I've always loved about you was that once you locked in and you were committed, it was a wrap. It was
Right.
done. You had
That's right.
fun, you did this, you did that, but when it was time to lock in, you locked in. And of course it paid off playing
It did.
10 years in the league. The average
It did.
lifespan in the NFL is under 3 years, and you played
I
10
know.
years,
I
and
know.
you were doing something right, you know. Um, but talk to
Hmm.
us about the draft day. Like like talk to us about everything's going well. Mel Kiper was saying this or saying that.
Hmm.
You found your agent. You get anything locked in, and it's draft day. Talk to me about that day. Talk to me about that process.
Well, for me, I'll be honest with you. It was really kind of a bittersweet day.
Okay.
And I'll say it this way because I was projected to go in the 20s. And so
Wow.
when those teams come in and you see your name and you falling down the board, it's like you're like, oh dang, dang, dang. And so then
Woo!
when you finally get that call and it's like it's the Detroit Lions, you be like, yay, you get yeah. You just happy to get off the board by then, you know what I mean?
So hold on. We're not gonna let that moment. So it's like you already had your team locked in. Okay, so okay,
I thought I wanted to go to the Rams, and the Rams had 2 first-round picks.
okay,
And
okay,
then they picked Gaston Green and Aaron Cox with
okay.
those picks.
Aaron,
But
Aaron Cox. Yeah. So
hey, but I
now,
want to. But
go ahead.
guess what? It's amazing how God worked that out because
Right,
I still ended up playing for them. You know what I mean?
right,
5
right,
seasons. I
right,
mean 6
right.
seasons. I played
Yeah,
6 seasons
yeah,
for them.
yeah, yeah. That's
So
huge. So now it's like, hey, we got you. You're flying out probably like the next day or 1 or 2 days
I
later.
think it was that day, that same day. Yeah,
Wow.
right there. I had to
Yeah,
jump on the plane and I was up in Detroit.
man.
And then
Wow.
the crazy thing about that was the Lions had 2 second-round picks. I was the second-round pick. The first second-round pick was Chris Spielman.
Yeah.
And then Benny Blades was the first overall pick. I mean, well, he was the first pick, and then Chris was 2A and I was 2B.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And you know what else though? I shared something else with you with that draft class.
Go
Then there
ahead.
was another guy named William White. He was a 4th-round pick.
Mhm.
And then another guy, Eric Andelsek, he died his
Right.
3rd year in the league. But I say all of that to say all of us played 10 years, and Andelsek would have been the best of that class had he
Wow.
not
Yeah.
perished, you know.
Wow. So one of the things that I learned, and I learned it late,
Mm-hmm.
the NFL is a business in the facade of a sport.
Yes, sir. Big business.
And and
Big business.
and and I remember when I was with the Rams,
Mm-hmm.
we're there, me and you, there was a one Mike Pagel, right?
The quarterback.
The quarterback.
Hey, you know what's funny? He threw me my first NFL touchdown. I'll never forget him. Really? Yeah. Isn't that wild?
So yeah, he was cool. He was
Yeah, he
a
was
real
good
cool.
people. Good
So
people. Good people.
the lesson I learned from Mike, because Mike used to always sit in a director's chair.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone else had the regular chair, but
You
Mike
talking
had
about in the locker room, right? Yeah. You know, I forgot about that.
he would have a director's chair
I forgot.
and that was one of my first lessons. It's like
Mm-hmm.
he was real cool, he was
Mm-hmm.
calm, and he would always read his newspaper,
Sure
right?
did.
He
Sure
would
did.
read his newspaper, look at the
Hmm.
stock. And I used to study Mike like Mike has a different perspective of everyone else in this locker room. And then the
Right.
other person was the judge, Jackie Slater.
Of
So
course. Of course.
so we would come to practice, sleet in our eyes, sweatpants, flip flops. But Jackie would always come dressed up every single day.
Mhm.
I'm like, he would have on slacks, a suit, and so one day I'm like, Brother Slater, why do you wear, suit and tie? He said, Brother Harper, that's how he talked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Brother
yeah, yeah,
Harper,
yes, yes, yes.
this is business.
Hmm.
This right here is business. And so I'm saying all that to say you played 10 years in the league.
Yes,
At
sir.
what point did you realize that, hey, man, this is a business? You got to take this serious and approach it that way because if you don't, there's no longevity for you.
Well, I know you have to take care of your body, and that was the one thing I was blessed with a body that was capable of taking that pounding that
Yeah,
obviously, we had to go through,
yeah.
But, in hindsight, I have to look back and say I kind of cheated the game a little bit in retrospect. When I say that, at some point, I'm 28 years sober since I had a drink. But,
Oh, stop.
I would.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes right there. We got to stop
Hmm.
right there. Okay,
Okay.
let's go into that.
Yes, sir.
Let's open up that beast right now because somebody needs to hear this, man.
Okay,
Go for it.
sure. Well, my drinking started out with when you're a teenager and you're sneaking beers with the fellas, and then you do a little bit in college, and
Right.
then in the pros you got a little more time on your hands after practice. You ain't got no study hall, so I created some bad habits for myself. I had a couple scrapes with the law. I never got in trouble before. The only time I ever had gotten in any trouble with the law was alcohol involved, and
Okay.
found myself associating with the wrong people, and it just came. I played 10 years. My 10th year was the year I did not drink. So I spent those first 9 full-blown alcoholic.
So what was the difference? Like what was the trigger? What happened? Like when did you say enough is enough? Because I mean, like, yeah, like when did you say I'm done? What
Well,
did you see?
you know the old saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired and, hanging over. Like I said, the scrapes with the law, just minor DUI, those kind of minor scrapes, that kind of thing.
Right.
Nothing major, but it was still, I don't want to have any association with the police in that kind of manner or
Right.
fashion.
Yeah.
So, it just came to a point where I had to give it up. And, the NFL helped me. I checked myself in, and I did like a outpatient program and learned a lot about myself and the addiction, that I was a part of.
Man, that right there is like, man, I wish we could have started this meeting over this podcast with that because
Yeah, man.
there are so many people
Mm-hmm.
actually struggle.
Yeah.
I mean, they're locked in and they're like, you know what, there's no hope. But what is so fascinating about you is that you said your 10th year, like, you're there. And we know how, hey, we going to a party, we gonna do
Mm-hmm.
this, we're gonna have a fly, we'll get a couple 40s, we're gonna get a
Right.
fifth, blah, blah.
Right.
How did you walk that path, man?
I'm gonna be honest with you. That's God, man. When I look back over my life and the things I've overcome and the scrapes that I gotten out of, that's God. I can't pound my chest and say I did. Nah, that was God. God has brought me to sitting here in front of you, talking to you right now. Cause if it wouldn't be
Talk
for
to
him,
me,
that wouldn't be happening.
talk to me more about the God. Talk to me more about God in your evolution, his grace, his patience, mom's prayer, no, grandma's intercession at two,
Yeah,
3, 4 o'clock in the morning,
yeah.
sitting there by and by, talk to me about that.
Well, just God has been so good to me. A little kid from.
Right, man. No, I'm here.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, but God's been so good. I mean, the drinking, the alcohol. I'm dealing with the CTE stuff, and there are
Wow.
times I got issues there. But I found this place called Mind Spa, and it's a treatment called neurofeedback. And
Right.
I've been doing that for about the last 12 years now. And to me, that has been another blessing. That's why I said God has just been there the whole way, man. Just helping, bringing me through. But
Yeah.
I obviously believe that he left me here to, to be an inspiration for others. Somebody's gonna hear this story and can relate to it, and hopefully they'll seek the Lord when they're trying to turn from their
Yeah,
substances.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
another thing I wanted to share with you too. I remember going to that outpatient. One of the most humbling things, because here I was sitting right there next to a crack addict. I wasn't no different than them. I was just using a different substance. Here I was, thought I was better than a crackhead. No, I ain't. I wasn't no better than a crackhead. We
Wow,
just use different substances. We were the same human beings. You know what I mean? Just
wow,
hooked on different substances.
wow,
Very
wow,
humbling. Very
wow,
humbling.
wow, wow. It's wow. You know what? It's. I tell you what is just as humbling.
Mm-hmm.
Listen to you even talk about it right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is a former NFL football star, and he's
Yeah.
talking about the struggle and the
Mm-hmm.
fight. And you
Yeah.
kind of mentioned something in passing, just real
Mm-hmm.
quick. And I don't know how deep you want to go into that, but
Okay.
you know, there are a lot of former teammates
Mm-hmm.
who are struggling with this whole CTE thing,
Yes. Yeah.
and and there's like two sides of the fence. One side says, hey, actually three sides if there's one. It's like, hey, this is serious. Like, I lived it, it's real, I'm
Mm-hmm.
dealing with it, or I know
Mm-hmm.
who's dealing with it. Another side says, you know what, this is just a sham, this and that. And then there's the third side. It's like, hey, they knew the risk of what they were getting into. So as a person, because you
Let me
mentioned,
hit you. Let me hit you with that, because I've heard people say we knew the risk. I
yeah,
knew the risk from an orthopedic standpoint. I didn't know I was damaging my brain. I
mm,
did not know that. But I'm gonna be honest with you. Had I known, I probably still done it.
okay,
But I did not know. I was not aware of it though. When
right,
going into this, we knew we would have orthopedic issues in our 50s. We knew
right,
that. But
right.
we didn't know we would. We didn't. I didn't know I would be. Sometimes I could be having a conversation, and in the middle of the conversation, I can't remember the word. I done lost the word. You know. I mean, it's scary. It's scary, brother. It's scary. But this treatment has been a blessing to me. His name is, and the ironic thing about it is, the doctor that's treating me, his name is George Roselle. Guess who the commissioner was when I got drafted? Roselle, and they're cousins.
Really?
Isn't
That
that
is,
some irony there?
man, 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 man. You know what? I'm hearing, I'm hearing multiple audibles right now, right? I'm hearing some audibles. First thing, Pat, I'm just gonna open up the floor for you because I'm like one, two, three. First thing is talk to people that know about God, but they're
Mhm.
like, hey, it's just you know, from your perspective, talk to them
But
real quick on
well,
how your faith
I'm
brought you through.
from a ministerial standpoint. That's probably my weakest point. I can only tell you what he's done for me.
But yeah,
He's
whoa,
taken
whoa,
me
whoa. That is the strongest point. I mean,
right,
we can read about God everywhere. We got
right,
TV and WhatsApps
right.
and God but the one thing that you can't debate is a changed life. That's what I
That's
want.
correct. That's correct. But it was a changed life, but I didn't realize, but he was with me the whole time. He
Yeah.
was with me the whole time. Even when I was out there messing up. I
Hmm.
still got home drunk driving. I'm irresponsible. I could have thrown away my whole life and career. But by his grace, like you said, I was able to do that for 10 years. But I'll take you back to a little kid, 10 years old, dreaming I wanted to be in the NFL. Well, why was my dream any different than the next kid? Well, what made it? It wasn't me. It was God.
Yeah.
God allowed me to achieve my dream, to
Wow.
be a blessing. But he also knew that I was going to be a blessing to so many
Wow.
others.
Okay. Number two,
Mm-hmm.
CTE.
Mm-hmm.
There are former players that are struggling right now.
Yes, sir.
What I love, man, I'm just like, I'm trying to hold it together. What I love about listening to you is like, you know what? I have threaded the needle. But there's
I
some
have.
players, man, that, they might be too proud to get some help. Or there might be people who are associated with these players and they're like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what? Talk about that for a quick second. And then I have two more for you.
Okay, good. But one word you just said, and that word is not very good in the kingdom of God is proud.
Hmm.
God don't like the proud. God likes the humble, humility.
Right.
And that's part of it right there. Some of the guys need to humble themselves and find an outlet. Because I'll be honest with you, this has saved my marriage. And I'm on my second marriage, and this saved my marriage
Mm.
because I was irritable, impulsive, impatient. But when I go get my treatment, it's less of that. Now, it's I love the way Dr. Roselle explained it to me. The best way he explained it to me, it's inevitable that it's gonna worsen, but he's slowing me down on a glide path. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
He's giving me a
Mhm.
glide path to, so it's not fast because I can name and you'll know this guy if I told you who this was. He done fell out with a whole bunch of friends due to his CT done cussing everybody out, don't get along with nobody. But me and him still talk because I understand him. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? I know him. I know what he's struggling with. They don't know. They probably don't know. I can see through what he's dealing with.
I love this. I love this answer because
Mhm.
now, number one, it's going to be like, hey, former players, you need to get checked out.
For sure.
You need
For
to get
sure.
some help. You need to
For
get some
sure.
help. You know, you
For
know,
sure.
you know, that's number one. And number two, people around. I mean, you only hear about this when it's like, well, this person's not here no more. Or well, let's look at their. I mean, it's too late. But I never, man, I've never heard somebody progressing through it. And in my mindset, it's gonna get
Mhm.
better, baby. Because I say, hey, you're gonna get sharper, faster, quicker, stronger. That's just how I see
Mhm.
it. Okay. So this
Well, but now speaking of the sharper, faster, that's where the poetry comes in. It
okay.
helps me keep my mind sharp. I'm able to. I don't know, but this is another instance where I tell you where God comes in. I ain't know I had this ability or this gift to write like this, but these poems just flow out at times, and it's just a gift that I didn't know I have. He just deposits them. I call it like he deposits them in there, and I just lift them and just start writing them. He just drops them in my spirit on me, man. It's just been a blessing.
You got
Bless.
one on you? You got one on you real quick?
You know what? I can grab one. I can
Yeah,
grab you one.
yeah. We're gonna edit this video, Nation. No problem. I want to hear one. Heck yeah.
Cause I tell you what, I can do. I'm gonna do grandma since we
Okay.
talked about her. My grandmother died. I won't forget that day. All before I got a chance to play. I got drafted early to help get touchdowns. As the season starts, we're putting her in the ground. That hurt so bad, I must admit, for some time it was God I quit. Years later, a voice said to me, she never needed your money. I allowed her to see you reach your dream. I immediately apologized to God and rejoined his team. Amen. Yeah.
Man, that's
Mm-hmm.
right there. I
Cause
love that.
when you're a little kid and you be like, I'm gonna buy her this, I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do that.
Yeah.
And my rookie year, but she saw me get drafted, but she did not, see me play in NFL. She died in between that. Yeah, and man, I was hurt. That was my rock right there. And I think that's where the drinking kind of sped up because that void
Yeah.
we talk about when you're losing someone. I was filling that void with alcohol, women, all the wrong things, all the wrong things.
In addition to the poetry, you also have not one but two books out.
Yes, sir.
Man, that is fire.
The first about my days at Florida State. It's called All American Poet.
Okay.
And that's my first book. And then my second book is 4 Year Starter. And that entails my childhood growing up in Sarasota, my college years, and some of the professional people that I played with. I got Jackie in here, guys. You'll know a lot of guys in this book. You'll know a lot of guys in this book because this is our era right here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
You'll
yeah.
know a lot of guys in this book. But I want to tell you a story about Jackie because this is my favorite Jackie Slater story.
Okay,
We were
okay.
playing we were playing the New Orleans Saints, and
Uh-huh.
they had a defensive lineman, Frank Warren, monster. Now, I always knew my stuff, but sometimes I like to sneak up on them defensive ends. I don't want you to know I'm coming. So right before the play, Jackie yelled, "Come on down, Pat! Come on down!" Hey, hey, Shawn, Big Shawn. Hey,
Yeah. Oh my God, Jackie! I remember we had a joint practice with San Diego,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a first rounder. No, he was second rounder,
Mm-hmm.
and we were doing one-on-one pass rush, and that dude got Jackie and drove him back and knocked Jackie down. He didn't say a word. He just got up. He was like, you know, he said doing all
Yeah.
that. But later on that day, I think it was like team or 9 on 7 joint practice with San Diego. Jackie took that dude and drove him like 15 to 20 yards down the field and put him on his neck.
Yeah, that was Vince. Now, I knew he was coming back.
I
I know
was
Jay
like,
ain't gonna let that slide.
I see that. I see that. I said, okay, brother Slater, I see
Right.
you out there. Yeah. Now, the difference with our era
Mm-hmm.
is that we had mama. And then if we didn't have mama, we had neighbors. And if we didn't have neighbors, we always had grandma. Grandma, grandpa. Somebody stepped in and stepped up.
That's correct.
What I've noticed now, though, is that, there's 17, 18, 19, 20-year-old aspiring athletes. Sometimes, mama lives through the kid and whatever,
Sure.
but they're out there. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you could speak to either the young Patrick, 19, 20, 21, or the athlete, 19, 20, 21, got an NIL deal, whatever, what
Right.
would you say to him right now as a person who has went throughout you have threaded the needle. You're on the other side. Looking
Mhm.
back, if you could speak to that young man or you could speak to you, what would you tell him?
Save your money because you're not just because you might be getting NIL money now, that does not mean that you're going to make the NFL.
Mm.
So I love the fact that these young men are getting this NIL money because that gives them a head start in life in case they don't go to the NFL.
Right.
But save that money. The biggest thing I tell you is build a relationship with God, remain humble, and just follow what your coach is saying and make sure you just pray every day. God is listening. God
Right.
hears your prayers. God knows your heart.
I love it. I love it. You know what, man? We're about out of time,
Mm-hmm.
but I want I want to. I don't know if your books are on Amazon. I should have asked you
They
earlier.
are. They
Okay.
are.
Okay. So how do we find these books on Amazon?
You just type in my name. That's my full government name, Wendell Patrick Carter.
Okay. Okay.
And the book is called 4 Year Starter, and the other book is called All American Poet.
Okay.
And they're both on Amazon, or you can go to my publisher's direct page and get it from them at